Welcome in, everybody, to this Kansas City Chiefs live stream presented by Bleacher Report. I'm your host, Michael Darcy, and I'm joined by my co-host, Joey Segura. And over the course of the next 25 to 30 minutes, we are going to break down and preview the Kansas City Chiefs and San Francisco 49ers upcoming matchup in Super Bowl 58 here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Joey, this is a Super Bowl 54 rematch, a game in which the Chiefs were able to steal from the 49ers late in the fourth quarter. They won that game by a final score of 31-20, giving Patrick Mahomes his first ring. Since that point, Mahomes has gotten another one, but if Mahomes was able to win this game against the 49ers, he'd have 3 Super Bowl rings before the age of 30. So, quick hit reaction. What are your thoughts to the Chiefs being in this big game?
It's the most impressive thing that we've done so far, I think, under Patrick Mahomes outside of winning a Super Bowl. I think some people say it's the most important. I don't think it is. I think winning's bigger, but to get to where they are with the struggles they've had this year, I mean, that's what a dynasty is. I think they do need to win one more. I think if they win this year, they are a dynasty. You win 3 in a 4-year period, you've cemented yourself as one of the all-time greatest teams, one of the greatest runs in the history of the National Football League.
Well, and right now, the Chiefs are trying to go back-to-back for the first time since the New England Patriots did it in the early 2000s, and they're the best dynasty the NFL has ever seen. So, like you said, they got to win one more, but who are the teams that have gone back-to-back? Not that many.
No, there's only been a handful of franchises ever to do it, and if you have a chance to do that, I mean, you cement yourself as an all-time team. And getting the second one was huge, too, because and this is not taking anything away from guys like Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers, but let's be honest, at the end of the day, probably 30 years from now, we might still be talking about Aaron Rodgers because of the pure amazing talent that he has. I don't think Drew Brees is going to come up in that many conversations when we're talking about the greatest quarterbacks ever play. And he's up there. He's probably top 10 quarterback ever, but we're never going to be like, oh, man, you had to see Drew Brees play no matter how great he was because he only got one ring. He only ever made it there one time. Mahomes is 28, and this is his 4th appearance he's going to be in. He's won 2 of them things. I mean, this is not normal. It's special. And if he wins this one, the trajectory of everything we thought that was possible in Kansas City is just thrown out the window. I mean, it's a whole, you got to rewrite everything because we don't even know where this is going.
Well, I think the narrative that is really getting pushed this week by not only the national media, but a lot of Kansas City media specifically, is that the NFL better not let the Chiefs get a Super Bowl in a down year, because if that's the case, they've got an entire offseason where they can re-sign players like Chris Jones and L'Jarius Sneed and bring in wide receivers to help this wide receiver core that was legitimately the worst unit in the NFL this year.
Yeah.
So if the Chiefs could win a Super Bowl this year, I mean, what is the hope for anybody else in the NFL that they'll ever get one? This was the weakest the Chiefs have been in years, definitely under Patrick Mahomes. And they went into Baltimore, beat Josh Allen, and they went into the Ravens' home and beat the defending, well, I guess not the defending, but the soon-to-be MVP in Lamar Jackson, and they're going to the Super Bowl. So if the Chiefs can win this game, it not only solidifies the fact that they are a dynasty, but I think it signifies something bigger in the grand scheme of things, that this Chiefs team is going to be deadly for the next 5 to 10 years. And so that's why this game is so exciting. But let's talk about why the Kansas City Chiefs will win this Super Bowl. And that is kind of a scary thing for fans like us to say, because we don't want to assume that the Chiefs are going to win. The last time I assumed the Chiefs were going to win a Super Bowl, they lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in really ugly fashion. But these two teams are a little bit different. I think that the first reason why you have to give the nod to the Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs defense, in my opinion, is the best defense in the NFL. And the defensive metrics might not show that. Going into Baltimore last week, the Ravens had the best defense according to every statistic, but when you needed a defense to make a play, the Kansas City Chiefs defense made the play. So, Joey, I think defense wins championships. The Chiefs defense is no exception. They're ranked number 2 in overall defense this year. What do you think about that?
I couldn't agree more. I do think, especially in a year where you're having trouble on the offensive side of the ball, to have a defense like this. And in the Baltimore game, the key was they got 2 turnovers. Now, granted, the offense didn't score on either of them, but they got 2 turnovers that took Baltimore. 3, I apologize. They got the interception too. I forgot about that. You got 3 turnovers that they were able to force. Now, I will say, as long as the Niners don't get down big, I don't think Brock Purdy's going to get flustered like that. I feel like a lot of Lamar's turnovers, and aside from the Zay Flowers one, was more he was down by 10 and the pressure was on him and he's trying to make a comeback that he hadn't been in all year, and he just didn't know what to do in that situation. I think, though, the defense is good enough. You're going to give Mahomes a chance, and that's all you can ask for is to give Mahomes a chance. And the way that they're playing, I know everybody's talking about this Niners defense, and rightfully so. They're a fantastic defense as well. They're not the Chiefs defense. It seems like every week somehow this Chiefs defense is consistently underrated. Like the media doesn't want to talk about it. And it's a shame because if the Chiefs are able to go out there and have a good showing on defense and win the Super Bowl, I believe from a stat I saw, they would have allowed the fifth least amount of points per game in a playoff run by any team in the NFL in the last 20 years, 23 years. So that's special stuff right there. This already has been the best Chiefs defense in terms of points allowed a game in over 20 something years, almost 30. So they've been fantastic all year. You have 2 all-pro level cornerbacks. You have Chris Jones, who's the best D tackle in football. Willie Gay is going to be back. He's going to be healthy. Losing Manny sucks. That one hurts. So we're going to see how Felix jumps in there, but I'm excited. I think they're going to definitely keep us in that game.
One thing that you mentioned about Brock Purdy is that in that Lions game, he had a great second half, and you can't take that away from him, but the Lions imploded in the second half, and the Chiefs defense is not going to react the same way the Lions defense did, and that Lions defense wasn't good to begin with. So I think that these are 2 very separate units, and if the Chiefs defense can get stops early and let this offense go to work, Joey, if they can get up by like 10 to 15 points, that might be all it takes to win a Super Bowl. But one thing also, we talk about how good the Chiefs are defensively. The Chiefs are so good defensively because there's not one single weakness in their defense. They have a great defensive line led by Chris Jones. George Karlaftis has been fantastic this season. And before Omena, who got hurt, he made a giant strip sack in that AFC Championship game. So you have playmakers in the front 4. You've got great linebackers in Tranquill, who I think that Tranquill will have a pretty big role against CMC in this game. Willie Gay, Nick Bolton, and like you said, 2 all-pro corners in L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie, and you have a safety that I mentioned, Justin Reed, has been playing some of his best football as of late. Sure. Like, this defense is so incredibly good, and I understand that the 49ers have a lot of playmakers on that offense. You got George Kittle, you have Christian McCaffrey, you've got Brandon Ayuk, you have Deebo Samuel, but at the end of the day, the Chiefs' defense is enough to win this game. And that's why I think that defensively, you have to give the nod to the Kansas City Chiefs.
I think it's and you know what? I'd say this Super Bowl is very similar to Super Bowl 54. I think it's the same kind of thing. The Chiefs had better offensive weapons then, but to be completely honest with you, and I'm not saying Rashee Rice is not what Tyreek Hill was in 2019. That was first-team All-Pro Tyreek Hill. Rashee Rice is coming to his own as a legitimate top 2 receiver right now in his career. He's a great option. Marquez, for as bad as he was all year, I got to give him credit where credit's due. He's been very good the last 2 weeks. He's shown up when he's needed to. Kelsey, and you have Isaiah Pacheco. So the team construction is different a little bit, but to me, it's the same kind of idea. It's your quarterback's got to outscore our quarterback, and you got him. Whether or not you want to agree that he was an MVP discussion, because I know he was. I know the stats say he was. Brock Purdy is a slightly above average quarterback, middle of the road quarterback who does his job well. And that's kind of the same thing that Jimmy Garoppolo was. And you're going up against the MVP, an MVP guy, the best player of our generation. So it's going to take a lot. I think that as long as his defense keeps it close, and I think it's going to be a close game no matter what. I think San Francisco's defense is good enough too that they're not going to just let Kansas City go out there in the Super Bowl and pounce them by 20. So it's going to be close, but I think this defense, even if the offense struggles a little bit like they have, not so far in this playoff run, but somewhat throughout the season, it'll keep us in that game. But it's going to be key shutting down Christian McCaffrey, man. If you can shut down Christian McCaffrey, make Brock Purdy kill you with his arm. Pick our poison. If he beats us that way, he beats us that way, and I'll take the defeat, but I don't want him to be able to get McCaffrey going. So then they can open up plays downfield on the play action passes. We don't want that.
I think that the Chiefs' mentality has to be let Brock Purdy beat them, because at that point it's Brock Purdy versus Patrick Mahomes. And unless you're a fool, nobody's picking Brock Purdy. So I think that benefits the Chiefs. But again, one metric that we've been talking about all season long, and specifically on the Bleacher Report live streams, is that the magic number for the Kansas City Chiefs defense, or offense, so to speak, is 25. If the Chiefs offense scores more than 25, they're almost guaranteed to win the football game. The Chiefs defense all season long has held teams to under 25 points. And that's why I think if the Chiefs defense can go out against this offense and hold them to just 20, 21 points, the Chiefs are going to have enough to beat this team. But, like you said, if this becomes a Brock Purdy versus Patrick Mahomes matchup, it's not going to go very well. And that's why Kyle Shanahan is going to do everything in his power to take it out of the hands of Brock Purdy, put it in the hands of Christian McCaffrey, let your running game, really hurt this Chiefs defense, which I will say is more prone to give up more rushing yards. But in my opinion, I think that's because they've baited other teams into running football, so they don't throw the football. Like I remember last against the Bills, they tried to get Buffalo to run the ball instead of letting Josh Allen throw all over them. And then Lamar Jackson and Gus Edwards and that Baltimore Ravens running game, they didn't run the ball that well.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think that they choose when to pick their poison. So, like you said, with Josh Allen, you don't want Josh Allen to beat you, man. I mean, that's just he was playing unworldly football. So you want to make Cook beat you in the backfield, make him do it. I think that Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. I'm not saying he's not. He does his role perfectly. I think he's shown that he's got flashes of being a genuinely pretty good quarterback. But kind of as you alluded to earlier, this isn't the Detroit Lions. Andy Reid hopefully is not going to go for it on 4th and 5 in the Super Bowl when we're up by, I forgot what the score was. It was 7 or 14. Or no, they were they down by 3, whatever it was. In a key situation where you either tie the game or you go up 3, whatever it was. I don't think Andy Reid's going to go for it on 4th and 2 when your offense has been terrible the entire half. It's just a whole different beast. I think San Francisco is going to be playing with a little bit of edge because a lot of these guys were here for Super Bowl 54. Kittle, Debo, Ayuk was on that roster.
Bosa.
Fred Warner. Who was?
Bosa.
Oh, yeah, Bosa was too. So I think they're going to want some redemption, man. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to how Kansas City plays. I really do believe that if we lose this football game, it's because Kansas City went back to the self-inflicted wounds that they had this year. It's that Mahomes threw an interception or two. There were a couple crucial drops. Allegretti might not be able to hopefully get the holes that we want to get in for Pacheco right now. That's, I think, why we lose this football game if we lose. I don't think it's because San Francisco just comes out here and really just beats us. I don't mean disrespect when I say that. I just don't think Brock Purdy is the guy in a Super Bowl in his second year as a starting quarterback, though he has not looked like a second-year starting quarterback at times, to come out here and just beat Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl without us having multiple self-inflicted wounds.
I think the Chiefs have proven over the last couple of years that the only team that could beat them was themselves. And so I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. I think that, listen, the 49ers are a great team. They are the best team in the NFC, and quite frankly, they deserve to represent the NFC in this game. But at the same time, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. And I don't want to say that because they could revert to their old ways and they could turn the ball over, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling could drop 5 passes. Like, you don't know what could happen. But at the same time, I'm going to trust the leadership on this team, and specifically Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Andy Reid, to figure out how to get the job done. They've done this better than anybody has over the past 5 years, and that's why I trust them in this game. Listen, in that Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl against the 49ers, Patrick Mahomes struggled early. He really struggled. And if he struggled early, what is Brock Purdy going to do? And I don't want to turn this stream into a Patrick Mahomes versus Brock Purdy reason why the Chiefs are going to win. But at the same time, it is such a big discrepancy that you have to talk about it. Patrick Mahomes is the game changer. He is the X factor. And so at the end of the day, you could have Lamar Jackson, you could have Josh Allen. They're not Patrick Mahomes. And Brock Purdy is nowhere close to either Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. So the better quarterback often wins in big games. And I think that's why it's so easy for us to pick Patrick Mahomes to win and the Chiefs to win specifically. But I also kind of want to talk about how the narrative going into this week is that, even though the Chiefs were able to skate by teams like Buffalo and Baltimore, they're still the betting underdogs. The Niners are favored by 1.5 points against this Chiefs team with Patrick Mahomes. So the 49ers might try to play the we're the underdogs card, but that's just
No.
not the case according to the betting odds.
Yeah, they've done this all year, and that's the one thing I can't say. I like this Niners roster, so I have nothing against them. It's more the fan base. I think the way they've kind of been pushing the narrative of they have not been the underdogs. I don't think they've been the underdogs at all this season. I think in basically every single game they played, they were the favorites. And rightfully so. They're a hell of a football team. They are a great football team. But it's not against all odds, like that goofy San Francisco tweet said. And it's just not. For Kansas City, I love that. I can guarantee you they are using that as fuel. I can see Travis Kelce right now in that locker room after practice screaming at these dudes, just talking about how they're going to come in here and we're the defending champs. We made our 4th Super Bowl in 5 years, and they're going to tell us that we're the underdogs, that we're not supposed to win this football game. All right, let's go do it. They were underdogs last year. They were underdogs in the first San Francisco Super Bowl too. I think we were favorites in the Super Bowl that Tom Brady just kicked our butt. But I hate that narrative that's being pushed. And also, the thing that's getting under my skin with it is it almost feels like San Francisco is somewhat making excuses in advance. Like, I'm sure you saw the video of Nick Bosa talking about like the holding with the Chiefs O-line. And then yesterday they were talking about how the Niners aren't satisfied with UNLV's playing surface, like the practice field. They're like, it's bad. And I know Will Compton was tweeting out that, which Will Compton was talking about that kind of stuff. So
he's kind of a certified Chiefs hater, though, I will say. So, I mean,
he's got good stuff, but yeah, Chiefs haters, that gets under my skin. But there's I feel like there's people that are making some excuses right now a little bit early on, and that's fine. I think the Chiefs love that. I think they're going to feed off that, man. I really do. I think guys like Chris Jones, who I think he has to know this is probably his last game he's going to play as a Kansas City Chief. Same with Willie Gay. They know this is it. So go out with the ring, man. You might never get to be a part of an organization like this again. You're every year and year in and year out at the championship. So I think we're going to see those guys play hard as well.
I think the biggest key to this game, like we mentioned earlier, is what is the offense going to do? Are they going to revert to the old offense that we saw all season, or are they going to be the playoff offense that we've seen over the past 3 weeks? I think the better assumption is that they are the playoff offense that we've seen over the past month. But at the same time, like, maybe the Chiefs kind of escaped that. But one thing I will say is that after the Chiefs beat Baltimore, even going into that Baltimore AFC Championship game, my opinion was that whoever came out of that game was more than likely going to win the Super Bowl. I think Baltimore was a much better team than the Niners. That doesn't mean the Niners cannot beat the Chiefs. Yeah. But the Baltimore Ravens were fierce. Their offense was fantastic. They were unstoppable all year long, and that defense was historically great. And the Chiefs went into their home and beat them 17-10. So I feel like after that, it almost makes the Chiefs feel, okay, we already believed that we could beat everybody, but we can beat everybody. Mm-hmm. And so the Niners, to me, I think that they can get rattled. The Chiefs can rattle them early. They're rattled right now, and we are, 5-6 days away from the game? They're already talking about the practice field. They're already kind of complaining about – I saw the Nick Bosa interview. And listen, whether you think that the field is not great or not, I mean, it got graded out by the NFL months ago.
Too.
So it's like, okay, you might have your complaints, but it just sounds soft to me. And the soft team does not usually win football games.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, just because like last week too, not last week, but against the Ravens were bullies. Like, let's say what it was. That's how they played their brand of football. They played an intimidating, they punch you in the mouth early with Lamar Jackson, and that defense doesn't let you back in it. And Kansas City walked into their house and we bullied the bullies. We punched them in the mouth first. They hadn't been punched in that mouth first very often, let alone get a second right hook to the face. They got 2 hits to the face, and they had no clue how to respond. Travis Kelce, when he got the Van Noy penalty, was hilarious because he just starts laughing because he knew what he was doing. He was trying to bait this team into that penalty the whole time. So I think, like you said, I think Baltimore, top to bottom, was probably the best roster in the NFL maybe. So to beat them on the road at their house, and the special thing about that game is how Patrick Mahomes evolves his play style. He can play one way against the Bills and play a different way against the Ravens. That second half, he said, man, my defense is going to make the plays. Let's just try to run the ball, milk the clock, control it. Don't let Lamar get possession, and let's roll with it. Where in past years, Mahomes probably would have wanted to try to go out there and put up touchdowns to end that game. And of course, that would have been nice, but he adjusted. He listened to the coaching staff, and that's what makes him special. And that's what makes it an even bigger threat in the Super Bowl, because Brock Purdy showed he could come down from big. He can. He did it. Do I think he can do it when he's not at home, when it's not against the Lions, who really kind of just handed the Niners the game a little bit? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's not possible, but I'm not sure. So it's going to be key to get up early, I think. I think you got to get out early. And once you get out early, you punch him in the mouth, you control the game from that point on. It's your game to lose. It's not you having to play catch up, you having to play comeback. You can control how that game is going to go.
One thing about the 49ers as well, in their past 2 playoff games, they played the Packers and the Lions. They trailed in both of those games. And at one point, you had serious questions as to whether they were going to pull it out. So that's not the best way to get to a Super Bowl. Listen, you made the dance. That's all that matters. You got to the final destination. But the question is, can you hold up? Because so far, it looks like they're limping into the Super Bowl. And so that is something to note. But to your point, if the Chiefs can get up early in this game, Brock Purdy and the 49ers offense are not going to be able to do what they did against the Lions defense or the Packers defense. I think it's completely different. The Chiefs have that coaching experience. That's another reason why the Chiefs are going to win this game. Coaching, listen, Kyle Shanahan is one of the best offensive masterminds in the NFL. He's not better than Andy Reid. He's not better than Andy Reid. And Steve Spagnuolo has been on an absolute heater over the last couple playoff games. I have full confidence in our coaching staff out-coaching the 49ers. Yeah. I think that is what happened in that first Super Bowl. Don't expect a different result. And at a certain point, if you have the quarterback advantage and you have the coaching advantage and you have the defense advantage, it's really hard to pick against the team.
Yeah, I think it's hard to pick against the Chiefs. I think, like we kind of said to lead out the stream, we're a little bit superstitious. I know I am. And so I hate saying it out loud. But yeah, I think it's hard to bet against the Chiefs. I think it's just Mahomes has done nothing but prove everyone wrong whenever they bet against him. And he has made everyone who does that look like an idiot. What he's doing, we've never seen before. We need to emphasize it. We need to appreciate this while it's here, because we're in the midst of watching something special. Because if he is able to win this game on Sunday, like I said, everything changes. I mean, I know it, and that's going to be the case with every single Super Bowl, though, from here on out. I mean, that's a huge win regardless. But 3 seals you as a dynasty. It seals Mahomes, to me, assuming he finishes his career. I think it makes him top 10 quarterback. I think he already is right now. I think it seals him as a top 3 finishing quarterback of all time, period. I think if he plays out the rest of his career and gets the stats, minimum, he's top 3. And it's legacy. So there's obviously some things not working in our favor with Patrick Mahomes' family. I'm not going to really say what it was. Everybody can look it up themselves. But I don't think he's going to let that affect him. He's a professional. It's, this is for Patrick.
It's also happened a couple times. So I think that Patrick has.
So I don't think it's too worrisome on Pat right now. But man, I think it's just going to be exciting. I think this Chiefs team, I mean, if they win it this year, like you said, what does the NFL do? Because this was supposed to be the year where it was, oh man, finally they have their down year, and next year the Chiefs will come back hopefully and get the weapons. No, man, they're doing it this year. They have Rashee Rice at wide receiver and nobody else. Marquez has shown up in the playoffs, like I said, so give him credit where credit's due. But if they win this year, man, that'd just be, I couldn't believe it. It'd be crazy.
They're just finding a way to win it any way possible. Like Rashee Rice being your number 1 wide receiver as the rookie. I don't think anybody expected that coming into the season, but they figured it out. Having, injuries to people, they figured it out. Having, guys not perform like Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, they figured it out. And the defense has been so good, and it's really gotten them to this point. But Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, and Andy Reid is Andy Reid. And that's why I think this game is so important, because, like you said, this is a legacy game for both of these people. Like, if Andy Reid can get a 3rd ring, The narrative on him as a coach completely changes. And if Patrick Mahomes gets his third, he's got 3 Super Bowl rings before turning 30. And at that point, I think he surpasses a lot of quarterbacks on the all-time list. And listen, he's 28 years old right now. He's only entering the prime of his career right now. Yeah. So it makes me excited for the future. And obviously you have to win this game against the Niners, but you got to feel really good about how the Chiefs need this game for legacy, and they're going out trying to build a legacy and establish one. And the Niners are kind of just in this game, obviously to win it, but none of these guys have won it before. So I think that does say something. And the experience of the Chiefs, I think, will prove to be more than the Niners can handle because, listen, the Niners have been to this game. The Chiefs have won this game multiple times against the Niners too. So I think that is going to be a big reason why the Chiefs ultimately end up winning. But Joey, I think that's really all that we have for this video. So if you guys enjoyed it, don't forget to like this stream. Go follow us on social media platforms. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at @TheMichaelDarcy. Joey, where can you find yourself?
We're going to be starting a podcast. We'll link that in whenever we get that going. So stay tuned for that. We'll do that.
Sounds good. And if the Chiefs can take care of business on Sunday, they will win their 3rd Super Bowl in the Patrick Mahomes era, being the first team since the New England Patriots to go back-to-back. For Michael Darcy and Joey Segura, thank you for watching this Kansas City Chiefs live stream presented by Bleacher Report.